Unseen wings. The soft whir of the ceiling fan barely disturbed the heavy Mumbai air as Samira Patel worked silently in the kitchen of the Dewan mansion. At 23, her hands moved with practiced efficiency, chopping vegetables for dinner. While mentally reciting English vocabulary she had learned the night before through scratchy earphones. "Perseverance," she whispered. "The quality of continuing to try to achieve something despite difficulties." The word fit her life perfectly. 2 years ago, she had left her small village in Gujarat after her father's sudden death left her mother and younger brother with crushing debt. The position as live-in housemaid for the prominent Dewan family paid enough to send money home and keep her brother in school. "Talking to yourself again, village girl?" Tara Dewan's voice cut through Samira's thoughts. The youngest daughter-in-law of the household stood in the doorway, designer sunglasses perched on her head despite being indoors. "Make sure you finish those samosas before the guests arrive, and remember you're to stay in the service quarters." "During the party?" "Yes, madam," Samira replied, eyes downcast as Tara breezed out. The woman never failed to remind Samira of her place, as if the worn cotton sari and the separate quarters weren't reminder enough. Later that evening, balancing a tray of appetizers, Samira navigated through the crowded living room where Mumbai's elite mingled. Crystal chandeliers threw prisms of light across marble floors as business moguls discussed markets and mergers. "Just set those down and disappear," Rohan Dewan, the younger son, whispered as she approached the center table. "Father's business associates don't need to see the help." Samira nodded, carefully arranging the samosas before turning to leave. As she did, her elbow accidentally brushed against someone's arm. "I'm so sorry," she murmured, looking up into the most thoughtful eyes she had ever seen. Vikram Dewan, the elder son who had recently returned from London with an MBA, studied her with unexpected intensity. Unlike his brother, Vikram had always acknowledged the staff with basic courtesy, but they had rarely exchanged more than a few words. "No harm done," he said quietly. Then, surprising her, he added, "Those samosas smell fantastic. Did you make them?" Before she could answer, his mother called him away. Samira slipped back to the kitchen, where Mrs. Sharma, the cook, was frantically preparing more food. "That Tara ordered the wrong amount again," Mrs. Sharma complained. "Now we need another batch of everything." Samira worked alongside her until midnight. When the party finally ended and the kitchen was spotless, she retreated to her small room in the service wing. Exhausted but determined, she pulled out a worn economics textbook from beneath her mattress. Her secret goal: to one day earn a degree and help her village establish a cooperative for the women weavers there. 3 nights later, while studying in the mansion's library after hours, a forbidden act that could cost her job, Samira didn't hear the door open. "Microeconomics at midnight?" Vikram's voice made her jump. "Interesting choice." Samira stood up so quickly her chair nearly toppled. "Sir, I'm sorry. I was just—" "Please," he gestured for her to sit. "Don't apologize for reading." He examined the book in her hands. "University level. Are you studying somewhere?" "No, sir," she admitted. "Not yet. I'm teaching myself until I can save enough." He nodded, settling into a chair across from her instead of calling for her dismissal as she had feared. "What's your name?" "Samira Patel, sir." "I'm Vikram." He smiled slightly. "Though you already know that. Tell me about this interest in economics." And for the first time since arriving at the Dewan home, Samira felt truly seen. Broken chains. The midnight library conversations with Vikram became Samira's secret treasure over the next few months. While the rest of the household slept, they discussed books, dreams, and ideas, a strange friendship forming across the chasm. Of their social positions, "You have a remarkable mind," Vikram told her one night as they discussed a documentary about sustainable farming. "Have you considered applying for scholarships?" Samira smiled sadly. "With what credentials, sir?" Barely finished secondary school before father fell ill. There are special programs for exceptional candidates from underprivileged backgrounds, he replied, sliding a brochure across the table. The Ambedkar Foundation offers full scholarships, including living stipends. The hope that fluttered in her chest felt dangerous, but she carefully tucked the brochure into her pocket. Thank you. Their conversation was interrupted by a crash from upstairs, followed by panicked shouting. They raced up to find Vikram's grandmother, the formidable matriarch Indira Dewan, collapsed on her bedroom floor. Her medication, the elderly woman's attendant cried helplessly. She missed her evening dose. While the family gathered in confusion, Samira quietly located the pill bottle, checked the dosage, and helped the old woman take her medicine. She then prepared a warm compress for Indira's forehead and took her pulse, speaking soothingly in Gujarati, a language they shared, but the rest of the family did not. The girl knows what she's doing, Indira muttered grudgingly as her color improved. Unlike the rest of you standing around like statues, Vikram watched Samira with newfound respect, but his sister-in-law Tara's eyes narrowed suspiciously. The next morning, Samira was summoned to the main living room where Tara and Rohan waited with cold expressions. Going through Dottie's medications, were you? Tara accused. And we've heard about your late-night meetings with Vikram. Don't pretend we don't know what you're after. I don't understand, Samira began. Gold-digging village girls like you always have a scheme, Rohan cut in. Did you think we wouldn't notice how you've been trying to get close to my brother, the heir to the Dewan fortune? It wasn't like that, Samira protested, her voice trembling. We just talk about books. Pack your things, Tara interrupted. You're dismissed. Your final payment is with security. But the family has decided, Rohan stated firmly. Be grateful we're not pressing charges for attempted manipulation of a family member. Stunned and heartbroken, Samira packed her few belongings. As she waited for her final pay envelope at the security booth, Vikram's car pulled up. He rushed toward her, confusion etched on his face. What's happening? The guard called, saying you were leaving. Your family has decided I'm unsuitable, she said quietly, fighting tears. They believe I was trying to manipulate you. Understanding dawned in his eyes. I'll fix this. Wait here. No, Samira said firmly, surprising herself with her resolve. This is for the best. I don't belong here, caught between worlds. Where will you go? He asked, distress evident in his voice. She squared her shoulders. To apply for that scholarship you mentioned, whether I get it or not, I need to find my own path. He pressed something into her hand, a business card with his personal number. When you succeed, and I know you will, call me. Promise? She nodded, tucking the card away, but they both knew the gulf between their worlds might be too vast to bridge. The following months tested everything in Samira. She found a small room in a crowded neighborhood and took 2 jobs, morning shifts at a cafe and evening work at a call center. Between exhausting workdays, she studied furiously for the scholarship entrance exam, often falling asleep with books spread around her. The day of the examination arrived with monsoon rains that flooded Mumbai streets. Samira waded through knee-deep water, her precious application documents protected in plastic. Hours later, drenched but determined, she completed the final essay question. Describe how you would use education to transform not just your life, but your community. 3 agonizing months passed before a letter arrived bearing the Ambedkar Foundation logo. Samira's hands trembled as she opened it. Congratulations, it began. We are pleased to inform you that you have been selected for our full merit scholarship program, including placement at Delhi University's School of Economics. Tears splashed onto the paper as Samira sank to her knees. The scholarship would cover everything: tuition, housing, books, even a monthly stipend. For the first time since her father's death, she felt the weight on her shoulders lighten. That night, she sat with Vikram's card in her hand, tracing his number with her fingertip. But instead of dialing, she tucked it away in her diary. She would contact him one day, but not until she had become someone who could walk through his door as an equal, not as someone seeking help. "This is my journey now," she whispered to herself, watching Mumbai's lights twinkle through her tiny window. Tomorrow would bring packing, goodbyes to her mother and brother over the phone, and a train ticket to Delhi. The chains of her past were finally breaking. Rising tides, 5 years passed like the changing seasons, each one transforming Samira more profoundly than the last. Delhi University became her sanctuary, where her mind flourished under professors who valued ideas over social standing. Her economics degree led to a master's scholarship at the London School of Economics, where she specialized in development economics and microfinance. London's gray skies and historic buildings witnessed her metamorphosis from a hesitant student to a confident woman whose research papers on rural entrepreneurship earned academic recognition. Yet Samira never forgot her roots. Every month she sent money home and spent holidays developing a women's weaving cooperative in her village. On a particularly dreary London afternoon, Professor Judith Reynolds called Samira into her office. "I've recommended you for something special," the professor said, sliding a folder across her desk. "The Chandragupta Fellowship. They fund social entrepreneurs working on sustainable development in rural India." Samira's eyes widened as she read the details. 5 million rupees in startup funding and mentorship from industry leaders. Professor Reynolds smiled. "Your microfinance model for artisan communities is exactly what they're looking for." 3 months later, Samira stood before the fellowship committee in New Delhi, presenting her vision for Threads of Dignity, a network of women's cooperatives across Gujarat that would preserve traditional craftsmanship while ensuring fair compensation through direct market access. "The problem isn't lack of skill," she explained, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "It's the exploitation by middlemen who pay artisans a fraction of what their work is worth. My platform eliminates these barriers." When the announcement came that she had won the fellowship, Samira celebrated quietly, remembering the kitchen where she had once chopped vegetables while dreaming of exactly this moment. Within 18 months, Threads of Dignity employed over 200 women across 12 villages. Samira divided her time between her Mumbai office and the field, personally training cooperative leaders. Fashion magazines featured their handloom products, and an international retailer signed a fair trade contract that would triple their production. Meanwhile, across continents, Vikram Dewan had been forging his own path. The golden heir had broken, with family expectations after a bitter disagreement with his father over the company's labor practices. "These are people, not numbers on a spreadsheet," he had argued during his final board meeting at Dewan Industries. His father's dismissive response had been the final straw. Using his business acumen and a portion of his inheritance, Vikram established Dewan Nova, focusing on ethical technology solutions for healthcare and education. His company prioritized fair labor practices and environmental sustainability, principles that had taken root during those midnight conversations years ago. Success had come swiftly, but not without challenges. His family, particularly Rohan and their father, viewed his venture as betrayal. Only his grandmother Indira had surprised everyone by investing in his company, saying simply, "At least one Dewan has a conscience." On a warm September evening, Vikram sat in his Bangalore office reviewing quarterly reports when his assistant knocked. "The conference schedule for next week's Sustainable Business Summit in Mumbai, sir," she said, handing him a folder. Scanning the list of speakers, Vikram froze at a familiar name. Samira Patel, founder and CEO, Threads of Dignity, keynote. Address: Economic Empowerment Through Traditional Crafts. For a moment, he was transported back to the library, where a determined young woman had shared her dreams over dog-eared economics textbooks. He had followed her career from afar through news articles and industry reports, proud yet hesitant to intrude on the life she had built independently. "Is everything all right, sir?" his assistant asked, noticing his expression. "Yes," he replied, regaining his composure. "Please make sure I attend this keynote." The night before the summit, Vikram stood on his hotel balcony overlooking Mumbai's glittering skyline. The business card he had given Samira years ago remained in his wallet, worn at the edges, a reminder of a connection that had altered his perspective on privilege and purpose. His phone chimed with a message from his grandmother. "Saw that Patel girl is speaking at your conference. The one who helped me that night. Always wondered what became of her." Vikram smiled, typing back, "I'm about to find out." Across the city in another hotel, Samira rehearsed her speech one final time. On her desk lay an invitation to the post-conference, networking dinner where Mumbai's business elite would be present. Among the confirmed attendees, one name had made her heart skip: Vikram Dewan, CEO, Dewan Nova. She opened her diary to the yellowed business card she'd kept all these years, running her finger over his name. Tomorrow their paths would cross again, not as maid and employer, but as equals in their own right, captains of their own ships in the rising tide of change they had both embraced. Neither knew what the reunion would bring, but both felt the peculiar certainty that the currents that had separated them were now drawing them back together. Crossing paths, the Sustainable Business Summit transformed Mumbai's Grand Meridian Hotel into a nexus of innovation and ambition. Corporate leaders mingled with social entrepreneurs, their conversations punctuated by the soft clink of coffee cups and the occasional burst of applause from nearby presentation halls. Samira arrived early, her midnight blue business suit a stark contrast to the cotton saris she wore when visiting her cooperatives. A young volunteer guided her to the speaker's preparation room. "Ms. Patel, we're honored to have you," the event coordinator gushed. "Your keynote is the most anticipated session of the day." Samira smiled politely, reviewing her presentation notes while trying to calm the flutter in her stomach. It wasn't stage fright. She had addressed international forums before, but knowing Vikram might be in the audience made her pulse quicken. The ballroom filled to capacity for her keynote. From the stage, bright lights obscured most faces, but Samira delivered her address with the quiet confidence that had become her hallmark. "Dignity isn't charity," she concluded after sharing the journey of threads of dignity. "It's creating systems where talent and hard work translate to fair compensation and respect. Our artisans don't need saviors. They need markets, access, and the removal of exploitative barriers." The applause was immediate and enthusiastic. During the Q&A session, a familiar voice rose from the middle section, sending a jolt of recognition through her. "You've created an impressive model for rural artisans," Vikram said, standing tall among the seated attendees. "How might similar principles apply to technology sector workers who face different but equally challenging barriers?" Their eyes met across the crowded room, 5 years of unspoken words hanging between them. Samira's professional demeanor never faltered as she addressed his thoughtful question, but those who knew her well might have noticed the slight tremor in her voice. After her session, Samira was surrounded by attendees eager to connect. She navigated the conversations gracefully while scanning the crowd for Vikram. When her assistant touched her elbow to remind her of her next commitment, she felt a mixture of relief and disappointment at not having spoken with him directly. The summit continued with back-to-back panels. It wasn't until late afternoon, during a refreshment break in the exhibition hall, that fate finally aligned their paths. Samira was examining a display of sustainable fabrics when a voice behind her said, "The indigo dye technique reminds me of what your mother described in her letters to you." She turned to find Vikram standing there, a tentative smile on his face. The years had added distinguished lines around his eyes and a touch of gray at his temples. "You remember that?" she asked, surprised he recalled details from their conversation so long ago. "I remember everything," he replied simply. and awkward. Silence settled between them. 5 years of separate lives creating a momentary barrier. "Your keynote was brilliant," he finally said. "Though I'm not surprised. And your company's work in educational technology is impressive," she countered. "I've followed your progress." His eyebrows rose slightly. "Have you?" "Professional interest," she clarified, though they both recognized the half-truth. A conference. Volunteer approached, informing Samira that a journalist was waiting for a scheduled interview. "The networking dinner," Vikram said quickly before she could leave. "Will you be there?" She nodded. "I'm told attendance is mandatory for keynote speakers." "Good," he replied with a smile that reached his eyes. "We have 5 years to catch up on." The dinner was held in the hotel's rooftop garden, transformed with string lights and flowing fabric canopies. Mumbai spread before them, a tapestry of lights against the indigo sky. Business cards exchanged hands like currency as deals and partnerships took shape over gourmet cuisine. Samira circulated professionally, but her awareness of Vikram's presence never diminished. He was across the terrace, deep in conversation, with a government minister. Later, he stood near the dessert table, listening intently to a passionate startup founder. Their eyes occasionally met across the space, each glance acknowledging the gravitational pull between them. It was nearly midnight when Vikram finally approached her table, where she sat with 2 international investors. "Gentlemen," he said politely, "might I steal Ms. Patel for a moment? There's a potential collaboration I'd like to discuss before the evening ends." The investors graciously excused themselves, leaving Vikram and Samira alone at the table. "A collaboration?" she asked with a raised eyebrow. "The most effective way to clear your schedule," he admitted with a grin that reminded her of their library conversations. "Would you walk with me? It's a bit crowded here." They strolled to a quieter section of the terrace where the city's panorama stretched before them unobstructed. "I wanted to call," Vikram said after a moment of companionable silence. "Many times." "Why, didn't you? I thought you needed space to become who you were meant to be without any complications from the past." Samira nodded, understanding. "And I wanted to prove, to myself more than anyone, that I could build something on my own terms." "You've done that brilliantly," he said, genuine admiration in his voice. The conversation flowed as naturally as it had years ago, but with a new dimension. They were no longer the heir and the housemaid, but 2 individuals who had forged their own paths against expectations. "My grandmother asks about you," Vikram mentioned. "She never forgot how you helped her that night." "How is she?" "Formidable as ever. She's my biggest investor and harshest critic." He laughed. "She'd love to see you again." The mention of family sobered Samira. "And the rest of the Diwans? Your brother? Parents?" Vikram's expression tightened slightly. "We have a cordial but distant relationship. They've never quite forgiven me for breaking away from the family business." As the evening wound down, they exchanged business cards, proper ones this time, embossed with their respective company logos. "Breakfast tomorrow?" Vikram suggested. "I'd like to hear more about your expansion plans. Perhaps there's a genuine collaboration possibility between our ventures." Samira considered him for a moment, weighing the professional opportunity against the personal undercurrents. "The hotel cafe, 8 o'clock, she agreed. As they parted ways at the elevator, Vikram gently touched her elbow. "For what it's worth, Samira, not a day has passed that I haven't thought of you." The elevator doors closed between them before she could respond, leaving her with the weight of his words and the unmistakable certainty that their story was far from over. Golden horizons. Morning light streamed through the hotel cafe windows, painting golden highlights across the white tablecloths. Samira arrived precisely at 8, finding Vikram already seated with 2 cups of masala chai steaming before him. "You remembered," she said, sliding into the chair across from him. "Strong with a touch of cardamom, no sugar," he confirmed. Some things stay with you. Their breakfast meeting seamlessly blended professional and personal. Vikram's education technology platform needed ethically sourced materials for school, uniforms across rural India. Samira's artisan network sought stable, large-scale contracts. The synergy was undeniable. This could transform our production capacity, Samira acknowledged, making notes in her leather portfolio. But I have concerns about maintaining quality with increased volume. We could implement a phased approach, Vikram suggested. Start with 3 states, perfect the model, then expand. By the time they finished their 3rd cup of chai, they had sketched the framework for a partnership that would benefit both their ventures. The business discussion concluded naturally, leaving them in comfortable silence. I'm leaving for Gujarat this afternoon, Samira finally said. Quarterly meetings with our cooperative leaders. Disappointment flickered across Vikram's face. When will you return to Mumbai? 3 weeks. We have the Trade Ministry presentation next month. Vikram hesitated, then asked, Would you mind company on your trip? I've been meaning to visit potential school sites in Gujarat. It would give us time to refine our collaboration model. The real reason hung unspoken between them. My accommodations are very modest, she warned, though her eyes betrayed her pleasure at his suggestion. I've stayed in village homes during project assessments, he replied. Corporate luxury gets tiresome. That afternoon, they departed Mumbai in Vikram's modest sedan rather than the corporate jet his family would have expected. The 6-hour drive to Gujarat unfolded like chapters of a book they were jointly writing, filled with shared ideas, companionable silences, and occasional bursts of laughter. In Samira's home village, they were welcomed with curious glances and warm hospitality. Her mother, Jaya, served them dinner in the small but immaculate house that Samira's success had helped renovate. So you're the one who gave my daughter the scholarship brochure, Jaya said, studying Vikram with knowing eyes. I merely pointed to a door, he replied. She walked through it entirely on her own strength. The next morning, Samira took Vikram to the main cooperative center, where 30 women worked at looms creating intricate textiles. The pride in her eyes as she introduced each artisan by name touched him deeply. Lakshmi here developed our signature indigo resist technique, she explained, and Priya manages our quality control process. The women, initially shy around the urban businessman, warmed to Vikram when he asked thoughtful questions about their craft and listened intently to their answers. He's different from other corporate types who visit, Lakshmi commented to Samira, in Gujarati when Vikram stepped away. He sees us as people, not just production units. Over the next 2 weeks, their business collaboration deepened alongside something more personal. They visited 4 cooperative villages and 3 potential school sites. Each evening, they reviewed notes together under starlit village skies or in simple guest houses, their professional boundaries gradually dissolving into something more profound. On their final evening in Gujarat, they sat on the rooftop of Samira's childhood home, the village quiet, except for distant temple bells. I never thanked you properly, Samira said softly. For what? For seeing me when I was invisible to everyone else, for treating me with dignity when I was just the help. Vikram shook his head. You were never just anything, Samira. I saw your brilliance from the first moment in the library. The air between them changed, 5 years of separation and growth culminating in this moment of truth. When my family dismissed you, Vikram continued, his voice low with regret. I should have fought harder. No, Samira touched his hand. We both needed to find our separate paths first. I needed to become who I am without depending on anyone else's power or influence. And now? He asked, his fingers intertwining with hers. Now we meet as equals, on ground we've each earned through our own efforts. The next morning, before departing for Mumbai, Vikram received an unexpected call from his grandmother, Indira. The annual Dewan Industries Charity Gala is next week, the elderly woman informed him. I expect you to attend. I'm being honored for 50 years of service on the board. And I want at least one family member who doesn't irritate me to be present. Vikram hesitated, glancing at Samira, who was saying goodbye to her mother. I'll be there, Dadi. But I'd like to bring someone special. The Patel girl? Indira asked shrewdly. Good. About time. The Dewan mansion looked exactly as Samira remembered. Its imposing gates and manicured gardens symbols of the wealth and privilege that had once seemed an uncrossable divide. As their car pulled into the circular driveway, Vikram squeezed her hand. Ready? He asked. She smoothed her crimson silk sari, designed by her own artisans, and nodded. Perfectly ready. The ballroom fell into a curious hush when they entered together. Vikram's parents froze mid-conversation. Rohan nearly dropped his champagne glass. Tara's eyes widened in recognition and disbelief. But it was Indira Dewan who commanded the moment, making her way across the room with her cane. So you're the one who remembered my heart medication dosage when my own family couldn't be bothered, she declared, examining Samira with sharp eyes. And now you run that textile enterprise I've invested in through my foundation. You're an investor in Threads of Dignity? Samira asked, surprised. Anonymously, Indira confirmed with a sly smile. I recognize good business sense when I see it. The old woman turned to address the gathered crowd, which now included Vikram's shocked parents and brother. This is Samira Patel, CEO of Threads of Dignity and my grandson's partner. I suggest you all make her welcome, as she'll likely be running circles around your business acumen before the year is out. Later, as they shared a dance under the crystal chandeliers where Samira had once served appetizers, Vikram murmured, against her ear, I believe my grandmother just gave us her blessing, and threatened your family with my superior business skills, Samira added with a laugh. Rohan and his parents maintained a cold distance throughout the evening, but it no longer mattered. The approval they had once sought from them seemed trivial compared to the path they were forging together. 6 months later, under a canopy of marigolds in Samira's village, they exchanged vows in a ceremony that blended traditions and worlds. Cooperative artisans sat alongside corporate executives. Vikram's grandmother occupied a place of honor beside Samira's mother. Their educational initiative, combining Threads of Dignity's craftsmanship with Dewan Nova's technology platform, had already established programs in 20 villages. Each school incorporated weaving and traditional arts alongside digital literacy, honoring heritage while building future opportunities. As they completed their final ceremonial circle around the sacred fire, Vikram whispered, from midnight conversations to a lifetime together. Samira's eyes shimmered with emotion. We've created something beautiful. This is just the beginning, he promised. The setting sun cast long golden rays across the gathering, illuminating two people who had defied expectations and social boundaries to build something authentic, a partnership of equals bound by respect, purpose, and love that had waited patiently for its perfect moment to bloom. In the end, it wasn't about revenge or proving worth to those who had once dismissed her. For Samira and Vikram, their union represented something far more powerful, the creation of a new paradigm where dignity, merit, and genuine connection transcended the old hierarchies. As twilight descended over the celebration, they stood hand in hand, facing not the past, but the golden horizon of possibilities they would explore together.